Hi, my name is Eboni Harris, and I'm a relationship therapist. Welcome back if you have seen my videos before, or if you're a subscriber. If not, you should do that. Today, I am talking about expectations in marriage, and really I want to talk about how expectations can cause more issues in relationships than they should. So a lot of times when someone is dating or in a relationship and then they cross that line to marriage, they have these certain beliefs when it comes to when it comes to marriage. And a lot of times we don't even know where those beliefs came from. So I want to challenge you in your relationship and in your marriage to really examine those beliefs. And just because they're your beliefs, does that mean that everyone else has to feel that same way? It's nothing wrong with having expectations of people around you. It's about how you react when people don't meet them. Do you take someone not meeting your expectations as a sign that they don't love you? Because that is not fair to you or to them. There are certain things that we do naturally, and we expect everyone else to do it the exact same way, and that's just not the case. So when it comes to your expectations in a marriage, have you been able to have a conversation about those expectations and have that person been honest in whether or not they can meet them? There's a difference between, I won't even say there's a big difference, because if one of your expectations is, as my husband, you should not be out of the house past 2 a.m., right? Let's go with that. Because we are married and you should be home by 10 o'clock every day, just because that's what married people do. But if you met that person, when you met that person and during your dating, that was something they did. Not if they did it often, but regardless, if they did it every week or if they did it once every 3 months, if that's something they did, and now that you have a ring, this is now the expectation. What is that rooted in? Figure out why that is so important to you. Is it a security thing? Is it a respect thing? Because some people say it's respect, right? You respect your home, you respect your wife. Is it trust? Is it, my dad was always at home, so I expect you to be at home? Is it, my dad was never at home and he was doing things he shouldn't have been doing? Figure out what that belief comes from, or where that belief comes from, and figure out why you feel it's so necessary to put that on someone else. Because if you can get back to that feeling or to what it's based in, then you can kind of address that more than actually trying to force someone to live up to your expectations. If it is a case of, hey, I do have trust issues because in the past when people were out at night, this is what was going on, then have an honest conversation about that. Talk about what that looks like and what that person needs to do to help with that. Not that they have to do exactly what you're asking them to do, but what can help you feel a little bit more at ease if they do happen to be out late. If they say, yes, I'm going to come home at a certain time, are they being consistent in doing that? If they say, I just don't know, tonight I'm doing this and this, I might be out a little bit later, can you respect that as long as they're sending you a text saying like, hey, this is what's going on, I should be home in the next however long, plans changed. If they're communicating with you, how do you feel about that? This is completely based on how you guys work together as a couple, and not about you controlling the things that you expect from that other person. Also, when it comes to expectations, sometimes we don't recognize or even accept that it might look completely different than we thought it would. If I ask you to clean the kitchen and I come downstairs and the dishes are up and the counters are clear, but there's dirt and food on the floor, I might get frustrated because I'm like, you didn't clean the kitchen. You may say, I did clean the kitchen. The dishes are up and there is nothing on the counters. That is a clean kitchen. We have different expectations. We have different experiences. So it's important that you really understand that everybody is not going to do things the same way you do it. And so maybe it is, okay, can you clean the kitchen and I'll sweep, because that's just what feels cleaner to me. Maybe it's, hey, can you sweep and put the dishes up? You might have to be specific. But that doesn't take away the fact that they put effort into it and that they did whatever they felt was a clean kitchen, right? So I'm giving a lot of examples because I feel like these are things that I hear often, where it's one person has requested something of the other person and they've already set in their head what that looks like. And then when the other person does it and it doesn't look like that, the effort is null and void. The effort no longer matters, right? And so I think it's important that you really sit back and think about what things you get frustrated about. Why do you get upset? How is this person falling short in your eyes? And is that really them falling short, or is it just the fact that they don't do things the way that you do them? And if they don't, how do we resolve this? How do we talk about the fact that like, oh, okay, so when I said clean the kitchen, this is what I meant. This is what I had to do when I was a kid. This is what I'm used to doing. So that's what I thought of. And another person's like, oh no, when I was a kid, as long as you put up the dishes and there was nothing on the counters, the kitchen was clean. And that's all my parents cared about. Neither way is wrong. Both of you can be 100% right of that's a clean kitchen, depending on who walks in the door and depending on yourself. So you have to stop telling someone that they're wrong about the way they do things just because they do it differently. And you have to also let go of those expectations that they're going to do it exactly the way you do it, especially if you haven't been clear on what that is. Another thing to really think about, especially when we're talking about next steps in relationships and in marriage, is, so let's say we've had these discussions, right? These are my expectations in this area. This is kind of how I hold myself accountable in these areas. This is what I expect of a partner. How do you feel about this person now? How do you feel if they say like, look, that's just not going to happen, right? What if they say, I am not the person that's going to sweep every single night? I'll put the dishes up maybe once a week, I'll sweep, but that's just not what I'm going to do. Can you still see yourself living with this person, even though they've made it very clear that they don't feel comfortable with that, even though they've said that this is something that they're not probably going to ever get the hang of? How does that make you feel about them? And can you be with this person long term? Hopefully you can kind of address the issue, not the issues, but address your beliefs and address why they're there. And also take some responsibility for, if I need the kitchen cleaned, I will clean it, or I will sweep, as long as you do those other things to make my job a little bit easier. Address that, talk about that. But if you feel like this is something I just cannot get past, I have so much struggle with someone staying out to 2 a.m. that I don't know, I'll be okay with that. I have so many issues with somebody coming in the door, putting their shoes at the door and walking away. I don't know if that's something I can handle. If those things are things that you cannot handle, then you have to have an honest conversation about it, because it probably won't change. You can talk, you can try, you can deal with it, but it probably won't change. The best way to change it, or to address it, I won't say change it, the best way to address it is to really focus on where those beliefs come from and talk about how can that be helped as opposed to that specific behavior. Because a lot of times those things that annoy us, those things that frustrate us, are all based on something that we feel like we didn't get as a child, that we did get as a child, that we expect based on our childhood. It all goes back to your childhood. I'm sorry, but it does. But yeah, or past relationships. But yeah, so when it comes to expectations, they really can be damaging to the relationship, because you are looking at the other person in a manner of, you should do this the same way I do it, and that is not always the case. So drop the expectations, understand where those beliefs come from, and compromise on how you could get those expectations met, being an active participant, not relying on someone else to do it. Okay? All right. Thanks for joining. Again, my name is Eboni Harris. You can follow me across social media at Eboni Harris MA, and I'll talk to y'all next time. Bye.